Hey guys, it's Steppy from Gamers Class. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a high MMR analysis where 23 Savage from Fnatic plays safely Morphling. So getting into the game, the first thing we're always going to be doing is looking at the enemy heroes and trying to figure out which lane we're most likely going to be laning against. So in this game, it's pretty straightforward, I would say. Safe lane, PA, and Snapfire almost always, and then a mid-tiny, pos4 clock, and a pos3 Enigma. This is pretty obvious just due to the fact of the composition of the heroes. There can't really be too many other circumstances. You can put Enigma in other roles, and Snapfire other roles, and Tiny other roles, but in this game, in a pub game, this is the most likely scenario to happen. So what we can tell from that is we're most probably going to be laning first Clockwork and Enigma. So in this case, he feels confident about this lane, so he's coming bottom with the Phoenix. Talking a little bit about Morphling here, something to note is that on level 1, the attribute shift is very weak due to the shift rate being very low, meaning that you don't have much survivability from this spell on level 1. So you want to be careful when fighting runes. If you're going to fight runes, you're going to want to have specific reasons for that. And most games, you're not going to be contesting runes at all on level 1 with Morphling. So just keep that in mind. Getting into the item build here, he starts with 2 slippers of agility, 2 sets of tangos, 2 ironwood branches, and he's queued up the 2 wraith bands, stick, morbid, so pretty standard stuff here on the Morphling. Just a very high stat and damage build on the starting items with quite a bit of regen there. Not too much, obviously, just the 2 tangos. I do like this build, a lot of damage, a lot of stats. It's good against Enigma as well, just having as much damage to kill the Eidolons as fast as possible. Something to note, another build that I do like in a lot of other lanes as well is just 2 set of tangos, circlet, fairy fire, and then 3 ironwood branches. It's a really nice clean build, and the fairy fire sometimes comes in clutch when playing heroes like Morphling.
If you like this type of content, go to gamersclass.com. For just $5 a month, get your replays analyzed, join monthly live sessions with pro players, get access to our entire content library, win prizes, and more with our supreme Dota 2 membership.
Okay, so starting the replay here. So like I said earlier, when playing Morphling, you're generally not going to contest runes. But as we can see here, which is pretty important, he ends up pinging the rune there, telling his Phoenix he wants to contest it, and then pinging on the Enigma's icon right here, and you can see here he says Enigma is missing twice. So basically what he's trying to say here to his Phoenix is that we know Enigma isn't going to be contesting the runes here. We know he's here denying the creep and then blocking his wave. So we're pretty sure it's just going to be a clock unless a Tiny is here. And if a Tiny is here, he's most likely just going to be at this rune. So we're going to take this, right? We want to contest this because we know it's only clock. And Enigma is denying and blocking creeps here. So that is why he does play aggressively here. I like he's taking advantage of the fact that Enigma is not going to be here, and he just stands his ground and fights with his Phoenix. His Phoenix actually took a while there to come and just claiming the shrine there, but I mean that's fine. You can see there really heads up play to contest the bounty there, even though he's very weak on level 1. So get into the lane here. You can see how he plays this lane. Just CS in as much as possible. Not much he can do there. The Enigma can just pull the lane back very efficiently with his Eidolon sacrifice. So you can see here he starts hitting the Eidolons a lot. This is something very common that you need to do against Enigma in lane. You need to kill his Eidolons as much as possible. Due to the fact that it's obviously making him a lot stronger in lane, giving him more damage, and it's giving you XP and gold when you kill it. So keep that in mind, guys, when laning with Enigma. We even play an Enigma. Just know that the enemy safe laner is always gonna wanna kill your Eidolons as soon as possible. So we'll see here how he does play this lane. getting most of the CS. The lane is very put in, and I believe his Phoenix was trying to get a pull off there, but the clock ended up blocking the pull camp, so that's pretty annoying for him. But it is fine. The lane's actually pulled back here a little bit, and he should be able to secure the deny on the range creep. Does end up doing that, and here killing as many Eidolons as he can. You can see here even he's going really aggressive on the Eidolons. Ends up falling really low, but it just shows the mindset he's in, right? He realizes that when laning against Enigma, he needs to kill the Eidolons to get ahead in the lane. So even Nelly ends up dying there due to the fact that he needs to kill the Eidolons. So really heads up play there from him. He knows how to play this lane, which is important. And he is getting harassed quite a bit here, but I'm sure he'll be doing some of his attribute shift here. You can see here he goes full agility and then strength morphs a bit up, and he ends up going from 0 HP to around 180. So nice efficiency there. And again here we see him using his waveform to kill those Eidolons, right? Very important versus a hero like Enigma, where you're gonna be at an XP disadvantage if you don't kill the Eidolon. So very important to do that. And now we see he's currying out something. I would expect him to get regen in this situation. We'll see what he is currying out now. His Phoenix actually does end up getting a pull there, so that's really good for him. The lane is obviously pulling back now. See here the Eidolons going aggressively on the Eidolons again. Even though he's so low, you can see he just knows he really needs to kill them. That's what you do to win the lane. That's super good for him, that he doesn't get punished. Regarding the items he curried out there, he's just trying to maximize damage and stats, finishing his 2 Wraith Bands and his Magic Wand. I wouldn't have hated it if he did curry out just a set of Tangos there, just to keep himself a little bit more healthy, but he is rushing the Morbid Mask here, so he should be fine when he does manage to get that. Here just pulls the creeps back a little bit, and gain even out now. And see here he's always trying to position aggressively in the middle of the lane so he can hit the Eidolons, right? It's very important when playing with Enigma. You want to be unless you can get punished by it, if the enemy is a lot stronger than you, you don't want to do this, but you can see he's posturing in front of his creeps, so whenever the Eidolons run forward, he's able to immediately start hitting them and then using the waveform to kill them. So some really important positioning there in the just to here he then ends up pushing, and his Phoenix does end up getting a so this is very good for him. They deny a whole nother wave from the Enigma. Nice stuff from his Phoenix as well. Attention to get the deny there on the ring. You can see here he's not aggressively waveforming on the Eidolons there because Enigma just hit 6. He needs to be a little bit more careful now, knowing that the Enigma has Black Hole. He doesn't want to overextend into that, and he doesn't want to get caught out without using shift or being Black Hole, as that would result in a death. So you can see here how he will adjust his play a little bit. He's not going to be as reckless as he was due to the fact that Enigma now has Black Hole. And there, that may look reckless, but considering he had vision and he just waveforms right onto the level 3 waveform, right? He goes right onto the Eidolons and kills them all. Enigma at that point has no way to threaten him. Nice use there, playing aggressive. You can see here at this point, his Phoenix has left the lanes. He's gonna be looking to move top pretty soon. Generally what you're gonna be doing when you play lane, it's moving to your off lane at around the 8 to 10 minute mark, sometimes a bit later. If you're dominating the lane, it can be different, but due to the fact that he's playing against Enigma, it's really the case. He is doing very well in the lanes. You might see him stick around, but normally pretty common top to take that tower. And also due to the fact here, we can see the bottom lane is pretty dangerous right now, as all he can see on the map is a clockwork, and he only has one ward jungle. So any TPs in here with a black hole could result in a kill, but so just keep that in mind when playing safe lane. Don't just sit in a lane that is dangerous. You really can punish the dominate. So here we'll see him TP top. This is basically just due to the fact that he's scared of a black hole plus a rotation, and also due to the fact that he can threaten this tower right now, as his Pango is here, and they do have vision here on the mid to see any rotation. He does need to be a tiny bit careful from a TP here, but the only real threat to him is maybe a black hole or a blink from Tiny, and I'd be very surprised to see a blink this early from the Tiny. So we can see here he TP's top, the enemy safe laner, the PA is mirroring his movement, and this is something that's going to happen in a lot of games, or something that should happen at least. What ends up happening is his support also plants a ward here for him in this area, which is now just making this whole top area his area. So he's going to be wanting to play this area for the next few minutes, as it's going to be the safest area on the map for him to farm. You can see he's completely uncontested in this area, as he took the tower top, and while he was taking the tower, his supports claimed the shrine and planted a ward for him, and now he's feeling very safe here. And we can see how aggressively he plays even on the top, just shoving this wave into the tier 2. And this is due to the fact that he just saw heroes showing. He saw the clock mid and the Tiny and the PA, and now he sees the Enigma as well. So now he knows for sure, right? He's perfectly safe going in, doing as much damage as he can to this tower. So good map awareness there. Mentioned it a lot in my previous analysis as well. Whenever heroes show, you want to shove the wave. And here's another thing that I mentioned a lot as well. Whenever you're farming as a carry in a safe area, you know you're safe, you want to be looking at engagements that are happening. And we can see here, he was looking what was happening, and he ends up getting an assist there. He doesn't get the kill, but this should result in them taking the tower. It basically ends up in him securing the kill on the enemy mid, which is really huge, and also ends up getting a tower, just because he was looking at this engagement here, right, and got involved. So great awareness there from it. Something really important to do when playing carry, guys. Don't just AFK farm. You always want to look at what's happening in the engagements to see if you can get involved safely. So yeah, he ends up getting gone on there by the Snapfire, but reacts quickly enough with the strength morph, so it's a-okay. And he's gonna move back into his safe zone now, which is the top area. This is just the easiest part of the map for him to play right now, due to the fact he has a ward here, a ward here. The shrine is claimed, so he's just feels very safe here. Here we see again another engagement breaks out, and he immediately TPs there as he notices that it's very close to his tier 2 and the enemy are fighting in a pretty bad position there. So great rotations from him in this game already. It's only 12 minutes in, and we can see that he has already joined 2 fights. Morphling is a hero that is pretty strong early on, so if you do win your lane, obviously. Especially in this game, I think mainly due to the fact just that he is ahead after laning stage. He had a pretty good lane bottom, and he had a nice rotation into the top area, getting the tower and having his safe area there, and then obviously just keeping an eye out for any engagements that he can join. We see here again, he has the Iron Talon neutral item, super good on any carry hero. You love to see it. He's able to take down a double ancient stack there, and Morphling is a hero that is able to farm very fast in the early stages and can kill ancients pretty easily when you have the Morbid Mask. And we can see here he's going straight in for the Ethereal Blade first item. Something to note here, it is a very good game for E-Blade. So basically a lot of the targets on the enemy team is very easy to burst with E-Blade, such as Enigma, Snapfire and PA, all very easy targets to burst with E-Blade, so it's a good item choice I think in this game specifically. Just regarding some other item decisions you can be making on Morphling, obviously it changes every game, but some obvious things you might want to just look out for are when you're playing against silencers or roots, so maybe silencer or treant, here is like that. Manta is really good first item, and then also if the enemy are able to get a really fast spirit vessel, you want to also maybe go in for the Manta a bit early. And also when playing Morphling in general, you're always going to be looking out for the spirit vessel items. Keep that in mind. Here we can see there's an engagement happening while he's farming in the bottom area, and you can see that he's always got his camera on the engagement, right? A very important thing to do when playing carry, guys. You always want to keep an eye out for what's happening in the fights to see if you can join. And we can see here he runs towards there after farming a camp and gets a free kill on the clockwork. Another important thing to note right now is that they just use black hole. So we can see he's adjusting his play to be a little bit more aggressively. He's going for these Barney runes here. He knows they have no black hole, so it's significantly harder for the Dire to fight while they don't have black hole. So keep that in mind when playing against heroes like Enigma. Any heroes with long cooldowns, that have a very impactful spell in the fight, just keep that in mind. Something you might want to do is just you can look at the hero here, check the cooldown. You can see, for example, Enigma, I think his cooldown is maybe 200 on level 1. So when he uses black hole, you're gonna, so let's say he uses it now at 15:15, you're gonna type it down in the chat, enter it for your team, and then obviously 200 seconds after that, so a minute and 3 minutes and 20 seconds after that, you know the black hole is off cooldown. Something very important to do when playing against these long cooldown heroes. You can see here again he's trying to get involved in the fights. He has his E-Blade. He isn't able to burst the target there, and he's able to clean up the clock at the end. So another nice little engagement there. You can see he's really trying to get involved as much as possible. Also, especially due to the fact that black hole is cooldown, he knows right now that it is a good time to fight. So yeah, great awareness from. Also, you'll see 23 Savage in particular is a carry player that really likes to join engagements as much as possible. You can see the benefit of it in this game where it's working out really well. Here he's just farming as much as he can and playing around his team quite a lot since he got his E-Blade, you know, trying to play with his team, take engagements, and now again we see him moving top area. Right now the top isn't the safest area to play, just due to the fact that the vision bottom, but the fact that his Pango is here giving vision, I'm pretty sure their team is gonna move to the jungle, meaning he wants to lane and shove it to bait. Let's just skip pause here. Here we can see he's running straight to the lane and his jungle, so he feels very safe while doing this due to the it's not here close by in the jungle. And there we see that the Enigma uses black hole on his Void Spirit mid, and he's instantly pinging Rush. This is something you're always going to be wanting to do, like I said earlier, against very long cooldown spells that have a huge impact in the fight. You want to take advantage of when they're used, right? So they know they don't have black hole now, and he instantly pings Rush. They go in and they take the Rush, and they get a free Aegis on their Morphling. And at this point, the Morphling is very scary, so I'm sure we're going to see him up the tempo here, just due to the fact that he has Aegis, plus he knows there's still no black hole. Yeah, so like I say here, he's going for the tier 2 top. And Tiny actually ends up stunning there, and he's playing a little bit. He knows that Tiny is there. He's playing a little bit cocky now, but he knows the rest of the team is bottom. And the Tiny nearly ends up killing him there, but he reacts just in time with the strength morph. So good awareness there. I mean, he knew that 4 heroes were bottom, right? So yeah, he really wanted to take that advantage there to get that tier 2, and he does, and even kills the Tiny without dying, so really good for him. And straight to mid, due to the fact that they still have Aegis. Black Hole is still cooldown and Enigma is dead. Just trying to take advantage as much as possible of the enemy's cooldowns and death timers. Also just mentioning here, the Nether Shore is super good pickup here, specifically against Tiny with the Blink Dagger. You can see there, if he didn't have a Nether Shore there, he definitely would have died. Just looking, I just want to take a look at the other neutral items. You see there's even a Vambrace, but he's taking the Nether Shore over the Vambrace, and the reason for that is Morphling has extremely high armor when he's fully agility shifted, so really important to take advantage of this Nether Shore drop. It's really good on Morphling, and also just really good again on any high armor agility heroes, right? Because you don't really care that much about -3 armor when you have 29 armor or whatever it may be. When you're pretty much getting a free hood from the Nether Shore. Also, just on this here, it's super good due to the spell damage as well. So here we can see a little engagement breaks out. The enemy were actually smoked, and here we see that as soon as the PA turns on BKB, he ends up morphing into the PA and going straight for the clockwork, going for the easier target, as his build right now is mainly physical damage, and without an MKB he can't kill the PA effectively when she's BKB'd. So good target prioritization there from him, and we see him cleaning up the Snapfire and the PA once the PA's BKB is done. So see there, going straight onto the clockwork as soon as the PA BKB is a nice play there from him. And also something to mention when playing Morphling, using your ult to get the most mobile hero you can is important. There we see the Tiny finally ends up bursting him, which he doesn't mind too much, considering that the Aegis was gonna run out really soon. That's pretty fine for him, and luckily the clock ends up missing a free hook there, which is super fortunate for him, as he might have died to an Enigma there, but who knows, I think maybe his teammates were behind him and they could have cancelled the black hole, so maybe they just ended up losing the game there actually. Here we see he waveforms very close to the black hole, ends up bursting the Enigma. Again, just talking about target prioritization there, just regarding that death there, I was a little bit aggressive, committing his waveform in front of the tier 3 when the Tiny is still alive is a little bit dangerous, so obviously a little mess up there from his part. But just regarding the target prioritization this game, obviously the targets he's going to be wanting to focus on are the PA when she doesn't have BKB, and then the Enigma. Enigma is #1 priority because of the black hole obviously, and then another good targets are Clock, Snapfire, and then PA when she doesn't have BKB. So just to keep that in mind, whenever you're going to be playing, you're going to be wanting to think of who your targets are in the fights. Skipping forward a little bit here on his death, so straight away he's TPing mid. He knows that there's no black hole stall since they used it at the bottom fight here, and they end up taking another engagement here. And due to the fact that Enigma and Clock are dead, they're going up the high ground for fight here. Something to note, he is strength pretty high due to the fact that there's a Tiny, right? He doesn't want to get burst by Tiny plus PA, so good awareness there of strength more, a little bit higher. And also taking the tower, and as soon as the tower died, the Enigma respawned, and having the discipline to back, really important there. You don't want to force in situations like this where there are 5 heroes and you're a little bit ahead, right? Or you're quite far ahead, but you don't want to give the enemies a good fight on their high ground in their base. So always important to be aware of when you play in your pubs. Just a little bit about his item build here. His item build is pretty greedy. Most games you'll see E-Blade into something like a Mantle SNY instead of a Butterfly. But in this game, he got the Aegis very early, so I think he felt like he could get away with going this full damage build. Again, though, I wouldn't recommend this in most games. Also just due to the fact that he's very good at using Morphling spells. Lets him get away with that. So talking a little bit about that fight, he did go in a little bit too deep there, and the Enigma was able to get the black hole on him, which isn't ideal in the fights. But he got the strength morph in time, which allowed him to live. And the first thing on his mind right now is that when his teammates respawn, he's gonna wanna either take Roche or go fight, right? Due to the fact that they just use black hole. Really important when playing against heroes like Enigma. Specific. You always want to play around the black hole cooldown. The game's always going to revolve around that pretty much, so keep that in mind, definitely. Very important. And here we see he's going straight into the Roche. Fortunately, I think that was a pretty fast respawn. Not 100% sure, but you can see there just the fact that they use black hole means they get Roche. Very important to abuse things like that when you play Dota, and not to just AFK farm when things like black hole are used. Skipping through the pause a little bit. So now that he has Aegis, he's feeling very strong, obviously. And they also know that black hole is on cooldown for a little bit longer, I believe. It should be pretty soon. Yeah, it's up in 50 seconds. So I'm sure one of them is taking a timer on the black hole. So I guess we'll see here. Yeah, they're deciding not to go high ground now because they know the black hole is gonna be up soon. And also he's waiting for his Satanic. Another important thing to do, obviously. And the Tiny actually ends up messing up there and not able to kill the Morphling. He tried to burst the Morphling there and messed up a little bit there, giving away a death, which allows them to go high ground here. He actually messes up quite badly there. They end up being able to burst him, and here they black hole him. And here we see a huge play coming in from the Pangalia. The Pangalia actually ended up swashbuckling and then getting a bash with the Skull Basher on the Enigma BKB there. So very fortunate for 23 Savage there that his Pango saved him, which is basically going to allow them to win the fight and the game here. And we can see that a Rapier actually dropped from PA. So at this point the game is pretty much over. Very, very big play. You can see that he even tips his Pango just due to the fact that he bashes the Enigma there with the swashbuckle. Very huge play there. Very lucky as well. See here the Tiny actually goes for the Rapier, and he goes straight for him, picks up the Rapier, and we should see him ending the game here. So yeah, overall, a very clean game played here by 23 Savage. You can see some of the important things he does this game in the laning stage. Playing against Enigma, just killing the Eidolons whenever possible. That's how you get an advantage against a hero like Enigma. And also getting pulls obviously from your pos 5 is very important as well in a lane like that. And then also another thing just during the game that was very evident that was happening is that every time Black Hole is off cooldown, he would go for objectives. Or something like Roche, a fight, anything like that. As soon as Black Hole's on cooldown, you go for make progress in the game, right? And also just to mention his more earlier rotations, keeping top at around 8 minutes when bottom wasn't feeling that safe. All these things matter a lot in games like these, and ultimately what allows games to be so successful like this. So thanks for watching the replay, guys. I hope you enjoyed the analysis, and well played to 23 Savage there.